How will mortgages work in a Bitcoin world? Buying a house is generally a good investment because even without any appreciation on the value of the house, the cost of the mortgage payment will become less over 30 years in the US as inflation eats away at the value of the dollar or other fiat currencies. Using round numbers, a $500 monthly mortgage payment with 5 inflation will be the same as $107 payment in 30 years. But if the world moves to Bitcoin and the value of Bitcoin is always rising, the cost of that mortgage payment will be constantly going up. So to purchase a house, the value needs to be constantly going up at a rate that exceeds the increased value in Bitcoin. Won't the interest rates that banks need to be worth the risk be insanely high to the point no one will be able to get a mortgage? In the world you're describing, Bitcoin will have probably absorbed all of the monetary premium out of other assets and not have any insane inflows. Bitcoin at that point will probably accrete in lockstep with GDP growth, making it much slower and more predictable. Houses will become more affordable. The idea that inflation is good if you're highly indebted was true for boomers, but I'm not so sure it's true anymore. Price inflation isn't going to help you out with your mortgage, the opposite in fact. But wage inflation is. Do you believe wage inflation always follows price inflation? I'm not so sure these days. Ask your grandpa if his dad had to pay a mortgage all his life or if he only saved and then bought a house with his savings. Life shouldn't be based on debt. Housing should not be seen as an investment unless it is actively generating income for you via rent. Many people use housing as a way to store wealth today. But this is not a good thing. With a hard currency like Bitcoin, people don't need to store wealth in their home. People also don't need to take out mortgages, as they can simply just save up the cash to pay for it outright. Don't forget property taxes, insurance, and maintenance repair costs. You won't need a mortgage. You'll be able to save for a house, as your savings won't be constantly devalued. Houses don't appreciate. Fiat gets weaker. The thing everyone is overlooking here is supply and demand. If the population continues to rise in the USA and house builders can't keep up, even in a Bitcoin world, houses would still increase in value because people would want them. The reason Bitcoin is increasing so much and will increase so much in the next 5-10 years is because people don't understand it yet. If Bitcoin becomes the main currency of the world, then the insane rate of growth for Bitcoin will be over and home prices will simply be valued based on supply and demand. Right now everything goes up because fiat value continues to go down. If you own enough Bitcoin, I don't imagine you'll have to worry about how they work. Not gonna be mortgages, or they will be totally different. Quit trying to shoehorn poor financial products of today into a Bitcoin world. You're confused because all you know is fiat, the orange pill, and wake up to the fact it was all a construct to enslave us. This is why Bitcoin will never be the primary currency anywhere. If the world moves to Bitcoin, it'll be as a reserve currency, centrally controlled fiat, with a fluctuating Bitcoin conversion value, will need to exist, because commerce is extremely difficult with volatile currencies. I bought Bitcoin instead of using the fiat for a down payment for a home. It's up 1000x. I could pay 100 cash for almost 200 homes. Also, there's another huge housing bubble. Real estate is for people who failed math. I think everything will go more towards renting. And if everything works out like intended, everyone has more money to rent more stuff. Assets will be tokenized, as will stocks, bonds, etc. Loans in fiat will be here for a long time. We have 30 years loans being signed today. Growth of Bitcoin as its own asset class will relieve some bidding up of real estate and equities. And gold. Governments will still require taxes and banking to happen in fiat and digital versions of fiat. Bitcoin is adjacent, not replacement. Well, they will be more practically priced, that's for sure. Loans require trust. Bitcoin is great because it doesn't require trust. Don't use Bitcoin for loans. I mean, it would be the same as it is now. You'd need to take out a loan. Your future payment obligations would be denominated in Bitcoin. The price of the house would be set by supply and demand, same as is today. You would use Bitcoin to transact for the house. This isn't even in the vicinity of happening in the US. Like any other with a down payment, but you'd earn interest from the bank which would contribute to your principal, along with paying your monthly payment. Probably all incorrect, but deflationary money is beautiful to think about. You can always borrow against your Bitcoin when the time comes to make the purchase. I still don't think we have any offerings that make me comfortable enough to do this yet. 1 BTC 1 house. In our lifetime, probably the same as they do today. The dollar isn't going anywhere. I view Bitcoin more as a check and balance on fiat, leading hopefully to more austerity. If they try to debase us, we can now leave. Maybe the answer to your question is that Bitcoin won't go up after it's used as a currency. Maybe its volatility is the problem and that's why it won't be established. Maybe this is why you won't get a loan in BTC. $500 $5, don't you mean 5%? In the Bitcoin world fantasy, credit does not exist. There are no mortgages. Save before spending. No shortcuts. There also won't be banks. Renegotiation of mortgage terms every year, maybe. Not gonna happen. The more realistic question is, how will mortgages work in a CBDC world? And the answer is, they won't. Because you won't own one. Ever. Welcome to communism. Look into the Arabic loan system. They offer various loan types with no interest repayment. Bitcoin mortgages would be rather similar. Lending will become increasingly irrelevant. Houses will need to be priced based on their merits.